You're listening to the Hustle Indie Show, where we seek out some of Indie's most hustling people and places to learn about what they do, how they got started, and where they're going. Sit back and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Indie Show. This is episode number 6 of season 3. Ian, have you been keeping count? Do you know how many episodes we've done so far?
No, I actually lost count, Brendan. We recorded so many in a short amount of time, and then we've had such a break, I kind of lost track of what week it was, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, well, we're rocking and rolling. We've got some amazing guests on this season. We've heard some amazing stories already, and we've got another amazing story with us already today. But, Ian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Brendan. I've just been doing a lot of different things at work, producing a lot of content for my social media pages, and just trying to do my best being a real estate agent, man. It's kind of tough out here. I'm not going to lie to you. Getting new clients can be tough and frustrating, but it's also really rewarding. So if anybody out there listening needs a real estate agent of any kind, let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. But man, I do miss my co-host being around, Brendan. So I hope California's treating you okay.
I will say it is nice here. Like I was telling you before the show, it is going to be 100 degrees today. But the last week and a half, it was in the 70s. So really nice. We're enjoying it. School is really busy, but we're having a great time out here. But back to the show. Speaking of our guests, we've got an amazing guest with us. Excited to hear her story and all that they're doing over where they're at right now. So we want to welcome Ja'Net Dennis, co-owner of the YASO Jamaican Grill there in Fountain Square, Indianapolis. Yes. So, Ja'Net, welcome to the Hustle Indie Show.
Welcome, Ja'Net.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, so we like to start every episode with a super loaded question. We want to know who you are and how you got started doing what you're doing.
Okay, so I am Ja'Net Dennis, and I am co-owner of YASO Jamaican Grill in Indianapolis, and I got started doing this. It's kind of a really strange full circle thing that it's unfolding. Let's just say that. I'm coming to understand how I ended up restauranting a little more every day. Let's say that. My husband is the Jamaican portion of this, and he's the executive chef. And so basically we're a restaurant team because we are supporting a passion of his as far as chefing and cooking and pushing his love for what he does and making it do what it do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am at the restaurant, so you're the hustling and bustling in the background.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Right. Well, so for those listening, I actually went to YASO for the first time. It was about a week ago, actually, from today when we're recording this. And the food is incredible. It's a great atmosphere. You guys have done incredible with the whole setup. Coming in, you really feel like you're kind of entering another little world. And the food was awesome. The staff was super, super friendly. So tell us a little bit more about how you got started. So you said this was your husband's passion. First of all, I guess, how did you guys meet? And then how did this kind of whole come together?
Okay. All right. Well, I met him. Actually, he was grilling for a friend. And I was driving past. I was taking my nieces to school this particular day. And I asked, I smelled this aroma in the air. And I looked over and I saw somebody on a grill. And it was a little spot. And I said to myself, if that person is there when I come back, I was going to stop by. And I stopped by it when I came back, he was there. And so I stopped by and asked what were the hours. Everything smelled so good. And so he told me the hours, and I at some point made it back to eat. And it was so good that I came back a few times. And so anyway, he was there one of the times that I came back. And it's funny because he's hanging out with his friend. He's kind of helping out his friend. He's here in the States visiting his brother. And so I was standing at the window and I was deciding whether or not I was going to use my card, my debit card, or my cash in my pocket, and at the time I was writing full time. I had just kind of left the world and went in and was writing, came out for lunch and usually went back in. And I was just debating right then, like, do I want to use my card? Do I want to use some money? And little did I know he was on the other side of the window praying, "Ooh, please use a card, please use a card." And so I decided that I would use my card because I was going to keep my cash in my pocket. Yeah. And I put the card through, and when I got the card back, he asked me for my phone number. And we've been talking ever since. So here we are, 8 years, 2 kids, a restaurant, everything later, and here we are.
That's so cool. Wow. So you mentioned writing. You said something about writing. Yeah. I want to hear about that. Do you have education in writing? What's that side of your life like?
Okay, so that side of my life. So my degree's in TCOM from Ball State. Okay. Chirp, chirp. Okay, so my passion is screenwriting, and so like those were the things that I envisioned myself doing as I was a student at Ball State. And it's funny because in being at Ball State, I had a restaurant in my apartment at Ball State. It's really funny because a friend of mine had something that I had made, and he was like, "Ooh, this will sell." And we just kind of bounced it around, and we made a little restaurant called AEW Sandwich Shop, and we did it out of my apartment. Wasn't anything right about it, but people really loved it. It was kind of, we supported the late night after party crowd. We had a little delivery and everything. It's really a serious little thing. And so what's funny is I've been kind of entrepreneurial all along.
Yeah.
And so I did that when we were at Ball State. I worked at the Roadhouse, Texas Roadhouse. We opened the one up there. And so I've done things restaurant industry, but my passion was always writing. And so I lived in Atlanta, and I was a dance minor I was going to minor by minoring marketing. But anyway, so I was a dance minor and TCOM major. And so I did performance stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so I moved to Atlanta, and I had done some professional stuff in Atlanta and was trying to get some gigs. And it's just, it was really tough because in Atlanta, you had to have 5 years of experience to be a production assistant. And so that was tough, because I was in school. I wasn't getting the experience. So it was hard. It was really hard. But I did some auditioning. I had some pretty successful gigs as far as dance is concerned. And then I eventually just, your life takes turns and things. I moved to Jacksonville for a little while. I was writing full time, and then I ended up moving back to Indy, and I did a couple of dance gigs, and then I ended up with I had a dance studio for some years and taught, and so performance and arts and stuff is my passion. But it's funny because outside of my passion, like I had a poetry recital venue called Right on the Poetry Spot.
Wow.
And it was one of the United States only poetry dedicated venues. So we had that for about 6 years. Wow. So that was cool. It was fun. We met some cool people. A lot of great poets came through, and it was amazing. And we sold a little food in there, so it's like this whole, I told you, it's like synergizing it all. Is kind of cool space. So, the creative side of what I get to do here at YASO, I got to do, just creating the environment, the colors, design, and all that kind of stuff. And that's how I got to kind of put what I would feel my creative energy into this space.
Gotcha.
And so I've always kind of done that, trying to find a way of looping creative energy with food. And I think that's because it feeds the soul, not only from your creative perspective and what you give out to the world to entertain them or to take their mind off of whatever it is, but then to feed their body. It just feeds their body and their soul. And that's really kind of how this whole YASO thing synergized. It's here right now, YASO, and what's important and having positive energy. So it's a very interesting story.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said, are you originally from Indianapolis then, and then went to Ball State?
Yes, I'm originally from Indianapolis.
What part of Indy did you grow up in?
East Side. I was at Broad Ripple for the first part of the day, and Arlington the second part of the day. So Arlington is my home school.
Gotcha.
So I graduated from Arlington and then went to Ball State, and then
cool.
Ball State from Ball State.
How did you end? So you said you went to Jacksonville, Atlanta. How did you end up? You said you came back to Indy. What was like the driving force for that?
Okay, so a couple things really. Jacksonville wasn't really working. It was just like I really felt like I needed to be in LA, and so I left Jacksonville and pit stopped in Indianapolis to go to LA. And I had a living situation already arranged and everything. And the friend of mine that I was going to be staying with ended up passing. And so I didn't, it just kind of took things on a different turn. So I had auditioned for some stuff here in Indy because I had never really done anything professional in Indianapolis as far as dancing was concerned, because I became kind of professional once I moved to Atlanta. You know, I did things like, you know, small local stuff, but yeah, so I considered myself a professional once I had done the Atlanta scene. And so I decided to look in the paper and see if I could find something to audition for. And I auditioned for, it was a play called Upon This Rock. And it was it's a spiritual play. And I had never really used my talents in that way, you know, where I was using them for any kind of like spiritual, as far as like purposely spiritual experience. So I was like, okay, torn, because I was like, okay, so I can move out to LA. And, you know, I auditioned and made the show.
Wow.
And so I was like, do I go to LA? Do I do this show first and then go? And so I decided to do the show first and did the show. And while I was doing the show, my friend who I was going to be living with passed. And so I was like, that is a crazy miss, you know, because I would have been in LA when that happened. And then everything would have been on me. I'd have been trying to figure out how to make things work. And I wouldn't have been able to, you know, I don't know how that would have worked out. I would have figured it out, but I just didn't even have to. And then I really say it like this. It's probably bad to say, but I kind of got stuck, you know, because at that point, after it was over, then I started, you know, doing things here. And then my family is here. And so Indy has this way of, you know, just wanting you to stay, you know, like Indy wants you to stay. And so I stayed. You know, so now it's like you try to find a way to still live and do the things that you love, that you can go out to LA and do every day, all day, from the top to the bottom. Because Brandon, you're there, right? So you probably know.
Oh yeah, there is no shortage of places to eat, things to do, like places to be entertained. There's literally no shortage of that. I could be here, so I'm here tentatively for the next like 3 years. If I did something new every weekend, I wouldn't even make it halfway through the list of stuff to do.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. And it's like, you know, you're out there and, you know, the gigs are there and the things to do are there, you know, and all of that. And it's crazy because like I wanted to do that, but then I just ended up staying, and family is important too, you know. So it was like I realized how important family was to me, you know, having lived in other cities and then having touched back in at home and then going away. And so it's really interesting when your art or your calling, your production, whatever it is there, and you have to think, what does it require? What does it need? Do I give it? Do I leave? Do I stay? You know, it's a lot of decisions to make. Yeah.
So the process then, so how long ago did YASO start? First question.
Okay. So YASO officially opened, February 26th of 2021. So we've been open for about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you walk us through the process of getting that started? What is it like starting something up like that? Obviously, you have the visionary side of things. Your husband has the chef side of things. So what was that process like, getting things started? What were the challenges? Just kind of walk us through that season of life for you.
Okay. Well, so of course we know the biggest elephant in the room is COVID. You know, COVID just kind of like came through and changed up the lay of the land for everything. So with my husband and I, we had an opportunity to restaurant with some friends. So we did a trial run on this restaurant with some friends of ours. And we just quickly realized that we were just on two different pages. We operated in different ways, and a lot of times in partnership, you find that you find that what does my husband say? He says to know somebody and to live with somebody are two different things. You know, you just once you get into business with somebody, it's a serious relationship, and it's like a marriage, and people say that and you think it's cliche, but it really is like a marriage, and you start realizing how you vibrate. And really quickly into the project, my husband and I realized that we vibrate differently. And so because of that, we just realized it wasn't going to work. So we made a commitment and an obligation to making sure that we left the space in a really good place so that it could continue and be successful whether we were there or not. And so once we got the place to the position where it could be successful, he and I decided that we would leave everything that we brought, leave it in the position it was in, and that we would take what we understood and do another one. So once my husband, I think I got on the page of moving to something different a little earlier than my husband did. And then because he still had to fulfill his end of the obligations. And so once he fulfilled his end of the obligation, and it was just a verbal commitment he had made, and he's a moral guy. So once he fulfilled his verbal commitment, he was like, okay, at that particular point, it was okay for me to start the process of moving us into something different. And so at that point, I began just writing the business plan. And I wrote it. It's when people say write the vision, it's absolutely true. It goes from your mind, just the thoughts in your mind to the paper. And then from your paper, you breathe your breath into it and your actions start following this map you created yourself. And then it becomes, it flourishes into a actual real life, production, so to speak. And so here it is. So we just wrote the vision, it was like we wrote the business plan and followed the steps. Wow. And it was basically, just understanding what we had. And, that's another thing about just being in business is just really having a product that you can believe in.
Yeah.
That's a blessing in itself, because it's just one thing to just try to make money. Yep. It's another thing to have a product that you believe in, that whether you were making money or not, you would be doing it. Because here, the thing about YASO is the things that are here at YASO are things that we actually eat at home. It's not, we didn't make it any different. We didn't water it down because we want to save money on ingredients or we want to do something. We do it exactly the same way that we do it at home. Everything's the same. And so if when people come over to our house and they're eating at our party and they enjoy it and then we don't have any leftovers because everybody's eating up everything. It's like, we want it to be just like that. We want people to come here and eat and have a good time and be no leftovers unless you just couldn't eat anymore.
Right. Wow. So how long did it take? How long did that planning process take? Because you said writing the business plan. That's a lot of planning. That's a lot of conversations that you have to have. That's a lot of being on the same page with your partner, especially your partner being your husband too. I kind of want to get into that. So I guess the first question is, how long did that planning stage take? And at what point did you really get to the point where like, okay, we are ready to do this?
Okay. So I'm going to, in all fairness, YASO, I think it was a very different experience because like I said, we had done this prior to with partners. And so I would say just the writing of the business plan, when you really are solid about your product, is really not that cumbersome. And it doesn't take that long because you kind of understand what it is that you have. The time that it takes, I would say, is really understanding your market and understanding what else is being done out there and kind of like positioning yourself. So I think that might be the most difficult part about what we did, was just really kind of getting a full understanding of what else was going on out there. It's one thing to know what you want to put out, but it's like, how's it going to fit into the world? And so the research portion of what we did, I think, was the most cumbersome, and it might have taken a couple of months. Okay. But I think ultimately it's like, really, when it comes down to business plan, there are so many wonderful templates and so many wonderful for dummies type stuff that have great examples for us to follow. And it's like, you don't even have to recreate the wheel. You just have to take your product and you have to make it fit into those kinds of situations. And so I think it's just really writing the business plan took probably, a few months, and of getting it to the point where I felt like it was solid enough to like say, okay, I've written it. Now let's go back and look at it and tweak it and fix it and move it around. So from start to finish, I think we'll probably say about 4 months. Wow. To the point where I was like, okay, I could put this in front of somebody. Yeah. It was about 4 months, but I think that was YASO because for our last experience, it might have taken longer just because I had more research to do and I had to really kind of dig a little bit further, a little deeper in, and I had to really kind of make up some stuff because we didn't have any numbers, and it's not like people are going to share their numbers with you. You have to just kind of assume. And so the numbers portion of it is a little bit difficult. Your forecasting and understanding what you could look like is so valuable to be able to just kind of think about all your bills and then forecast what it's going to look like and all of that. And that forecasting might have taken about a month or so to get solid. Yeah. Gotcha. So
I kind of want to know about the location too, and also the name. So what is YASO? How did you come up with the name? What is the meaning behind that?
Okay, so YASO. YASO is a very common word in the Patois language. So Patois is the native tongue of Jamaica. Okay. And it is just recently at a point where they are kind of writing it and it's in a form where people can study it. But before it was oral tradition. It was passed down from generation to generation. And so and there are different dialects of it, like colloquialisms, depending on where you live and some things like that. But it's just basically a common word, and where my husband and his family and a lot of the Jamaican people that we come across, it just means here, like right here, right now. And so it's funny because when my husband was when he's talking to his family and stuff, and I'm still learning, like it's the language itself is an essence. It's not like, I'm going to pick up a book and I'm going to read these letters and I'm going to, it's not that. It's a vibe. And when we say vibe, it's a vibe, okay? And so when I'm listening to them talk and I'm learning the language and I'm listening to the flow and rhythm, and it sounds kind of like a song, like they have a tone to it. And there's this word that they were saying all the time, and we were thinking about names for the restaurants. And I was like, there's something you guys say all the time and it sounds pretty cool. And we figured out what it was because I couldn't pin it. So I was like, there it is. It's YASO. And they were kind of looking at me like, YASO, it's kind of like basic. It just means like here.
Right.
YASO. So we just got to talking about it. And so really we got to thinking about here. And as basic as it is, it's like, that's really all that can matter. Because you can't do anything about what has occurred and you don't exactly know what is coming. So right here in these moments, we're so busy brushing past them and rushing past our heres and our nows that we don't really sometimes take a moment to just enjoy right here, right now, where we're with. And so that's what YASO is for us. It is a capturing of time right here in this moment, where I am here dining with someone, or I'm here in my space and I'm eating and I'm enjoying what I'm tasting and I'm reflecting and listening to good music and taking in the vibe. And I'm having a moment of peace and serenity where I could think about something positive for a few minutes out of this day where I've been running and going crazy and things are strange. And so, it's here, right now, me and you and me and you in this space, and we're enjoying our moments together. So that's what YASO means to us.
That's really cool. I love it. So challenges. Obviously, I'm sure there have been some, especially with the last year that we all went through. What have been some of the most difficult challenges that you, your husband, and YASO as a whole have had to work through?
Okay, so of course the challenge of getting open, which, we wanted to open in August of 2020, and then it was then it moved to like November of 2020. And then we were hoping for December and hoping for January and hoping for the beginning of February, and finally got open in the end of February. So that's a long time when you're talking about the time that you're preparing and buying things and lining up and trying to get everything put together right to the time where you could serve your first piece of food to somebody. That's a long period of time to just be with nothing. So that was really challenging. And it's not like we had a situation where we were able to, just have a savings. We aren't trust fund kids or any, you know what I mean? So it was like tough. It was all on us. So that was really probably the most challenging. And I would say now, the challenging part is we work with family. And so it's really funny how when you think about working with coworkers and you're at a regular workplace or whatever, you're working for someone else and you're dealing with coworkers and all the interesting things that people go through and bring to the workplace and all that kind of stuff. And when you're doing a family business, it's all family. So we're coworkers, but we're family. So you have these dynamics to balance. And so that has been really, really challenging is balancing all of our dynamics. But what's really rewarding about it is that, the balancing dynamics of family in a business is very challenging. I will not lie. It is challenging. But I will not lie about this too. When it's time, when the button goes and the dinner crowd floods in, and the online orders are popping off and people are in front of you and the drive-through is rolling and everybody is banging and everybody's in place and they know the food and they know what the vibe is and they know everything and we're giving it all. It's like those moments when we all pull together as a family. There's nothing, you just can't even describe it. And so it's like the level of high it takes you to when everybody is vibing right. It's like, it makes all the challenges you have when you're trying to just deal with making sure everybody's on the same foot when it's downtime, it makes it worth it. So I would say those two would be the biggest challenges because for everything else, it hasn't been anything that I felt, you're going to come across things and you just keep moving, you keep rolling. I haven't come across anything else like that. But just that would be the most challenging portion of this to me, is just making sure we keep all of us as a family on the same plane in the same space, Yeah,
and that actually was going to be one of my questions, and you answered it pretty well. But I guess a kind of a follow-up with the family is that something that you have to like turn on and off as a boss, as someone who's in charge of your family? Do you have to be like, okay, I'm walking into this building, I am now your boss, listen to me? Or is it more, do you still have that family dynamic, or what does that look like and what's worked best for you?
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you a real specific example. Because my sister, and it's funny because my husband and I, our areas are separate, I run different things because we're actually owner operators, so it's like what I'm responsible for is different. So we don't really cross paths too much, in the daytime, we don't have to talk very much, other than just, a trinkle here and there. He's busy in the kitchen and I'm busy up front or here in my office. But my sister and I work really good together. And my sister's my older sister. And so my whole life, she's just been so bossy, because she's my older sister. And so, I have learned how to accommodate her as my older sister in life, because she's the big sister. But, in this situation, I'm the boss, so it's like, it's really funny switching that hat from little sister to boss, and it feels weird, it's like, like I'm telling my big sister, what to do or what not to do, and so it's weird for me, because I'm kind of a sensitive person and I tune into people's energies and all that kind of stuff. So it, it feels a little strange for me, and putting on that boss hat is just an uncomfortable space for me because I don't boss, I'm not that type of a person. And so learning how to get the things that I need out of my employees who happen to be family has been challenging for me. And sometimes as a boss, you have to boss up, and you have to be specific and, I'm not taking anything different than this. And, so it's kind of that thing that sometimes you all need to do what I say and not what I'm doing, because I'm doing what I'm doing for some other reason. And it's so interesting. It's a crazy, I'm gonna say it's a crazy line to have to go back and forth through. And it's challenging. And so a lot of people are like, I'm not working with family. I mean, I get it. I understand why, but I also think that, there's just nothing like working with family. So as challenging as it is, it's just also rewarding. But yes, it has been tough to flip those hats.
For sure.
That's really cool. So Indianapolis specifically, in what ways does Indianapolis's culture, the city, how does that play its role in YASO, in your life? So what role does Indianapolis play for you guys?
Yeah, and to add to that, actually, Fountain Square specifically, because that is you seem to have gotten a prime location. So as a realtor, I'm kind of curious how that happened, and why you chose there as well.
Serendipity, really, because like realistically, we were looking at a different part of the city. We wanted to go north, and that's where we wanted to go at first. But then we found this space online. Really, we found it online. It was listed, and then we were driving around. Okay, so it's kind of, here's how it happens. So it's separate things that occurred. We were driving around, looking around, and somebody had mentioned Fountain Square, that Fountain Square needed something like this. And so we came down to Fountain Square and just looked around to see what was down here and how it was vibrating. We got out and we were talking to people. Hey, how do you guys feel about having a Jamaican spot here? And everybody was extremely like, yes. They were very like excited and that's all that we needed to say. Okay, let's do this. So the people seemed to be primed for it. Okay, so that was one thing. That was when we were kind of doing our research. And then, you know, Castleton, which is where we were looking, it's just really, it's really busy. There's a lot of traffic, and we felt like that would be good exposure wise. But then when we came back to Fountain Square, we kind of liked the feeling of, it felt like a family. It felt like neighborhood. It felt like community. And Fountain Square felt commercial. And so we just, for the type of people we are, it just resonated with us, this Fountain Square thing. And so then we started stalking the place. You know, it was like, okay, let's go find the people. Let's see what's going on. Once we found it, and it had a drive-through, so that gave us a little more incentive to kind of get in here and start stalking it and see what it was. And one day there was a young man who was in here, and they were doing some things to the building, and we just kind of came in and got nosy, and we're like, hey, you know, what are you doing with the space? And they were like, oh, they're kind of processing what they wanted to do with it. And I was like, hey, you don't have to do anything. Yeah. Here we are, you know. So we just built a relationship and started that way. And so then we ended up, you know, getting the space, you know, because we really, it was relationship. And, you know, Fountain Square was very, very specific as far as the associations and things that are here about what they want in this neighborhood. You know, it needs to be something, and like everybody over here is pretty much local, you know, all the businesses. And they really understand the whole thing of, I really need to take some time for my family, so I can't be open 7 days a week from the top of the day to the bottom of the day. You know, I can't do that. And so as Jermaine and I, my husband, as we are thinking about YASO and our family and how this is working, you know, we feel very comfortable making decisions based on the needs of our family when we're here in Fountain Square, because we know that the neighbors here will understand, okay, a local business ran by real people, or they're not going to be able to be open every day, all day. You know, so it's like, as we're processing, we're even thinking now about maybe doing a 5-day instead of 6-day, because, you know, our kids are little. We got a 4 and a 6-year-old, and we want them to be able to, you know, have some, you know, family time as well. So, you know, you really start questioning yourself as to, you know, money is important and it makes things go around, but you're not on your deathbed wishing for money. You're wishing for time. You're wishing for experiences with the people that you love. And so we're just really, you know, drilling that in our heads, like, you know, this is not a money experience, like holistically, it's about money. We want to make money, but it's really, it's about family. You know, it's about more than money, and family and things are more valuable than money. And so I think that's YASO. YASO is about an experience. It's not just money. So we might have to take a day and focus on ourselves and our well-being and our state of mind, and understand that we'd be missing money, but we'll be in a richer space in our heads, you know? So
that's really cool. So the family aspect, obviously Indianapolis isn't the largest city. It is a big city, but it's not the biggest. Do you feel like the community of Indianapolis, and more specifically Fountain Square, really helps drive that family-oriented aspect of YASO, or does it make challenges?
I think it's easier to be family-oriented in a city like Indianapolis, you know, because although, you know, Indy is business and about their business, and there's a lot of people here doing it, but I definitely think, you know, Fountain Square is so family oriented in the sense that, you know, people are here at home, you know, there are homes all around us, and we're in the middle of it. And so it's really kind of a cool little space, because it's, you know, it's business in the middle of family. So it has been, I think it's been kind of easy to do, to be ourselves and be a family here in Indy. I think Indianapolis, it's really interesting. Indy is such an interesting little place. And you know how interesting it is when you've lived somewhere else in a bigger city, and you can kind of see how they vibrate in bigger cities. It's like we still are, we're making strides culturally. We are making strides culturally. We definitely have room to grow culturally. And I think that like Fountain Square is a part of this whole Indianapolis saying, hey, we're ready to expand ourselves and expand our minds culturally. Yeah. We're embracing other things outside of what, you know, makes us happy and comfortable. Now we're going to open up and see that we can be comfortable amongst a lot of other things, you know. So yeah, Fountain Square is ready, and they're ready and willing and open, and you know, we are part of this ushering into a more open and available Indy, you know.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward then, do you have any plans for YASO for growth, whether it's menu changes, new locations? Do you have any plans in the foreseeable future, or are you just taking it day by day?
Well, you know, we know we're going to do food truck. We know that, that's next. So we can do some mobile things. And as far as location, it's funny because we were thinking about, you know, perhaps doing a local franchise. We're thinking about it, but it's tough because when you feel like your restaurant is more than just people coming in, sitting down, dining, and eating, you know, you wonder, can you duplicate that and not be there? You know what I mean? And
it's your baby.
Yeah. You know, and it's like, you have to really turn something off in order to walk away from it and trust that it is going to be the filling station that it is supposed to be. So now, if you don't really care about that, if you just want to, you know, make the food, whip up the recipes and send it to the people, I mean, you could franchise this all day long. You know what I mean? You could be everywhere. You know, we could be everywhere. Yeah. You know, but it's like, is that what we want? Maybe one day when we get to the point where we're older and not really able to be in it as much, maybe we would consider it. I don't know. You know, it just depends on, something would have to move us, or something would have to change, you know, with us feeling like, okay, it can run and it can be what we want it to be without us being there. But right now we're in the process of finding out if it has as much to do with us as we think it does, because it might not. We're learning.
Yeah. You know? So there are a lot of people that in Indy, especially, that want to start a business, specifically start restaurants. You have a pretty unique story, but what, like, one big piece of advice would you give to someone who is looking to get into the restaurant industry or just looking to be kind of an entrepreneur? What one thing would you say to them?
You have to have a product that you would die for, dang on there, you know. Yeah. Number one. Number two, it can't just be you the only one. You know, you have to have something that people will enjoy, and you have to test it. So our test was our backyard parties. We started doing backyard parties, and it wasn't even like we were doing this intentionally. We were doing backyard parties because we just felt like it. I had a birthday party, and we just cooked a whole slew of food and had people come in and try everything. And then Jermaine just cooked whatever he felt like cooking, and I do some cooking, so I just added to it, and people brought stuff, and we just had literally a few of those you know, big old white full of food, drinks, and cornhole, and little pools for the kids, whatever it was. And we just kicked it and let everybody eat, because that's what we wanted to do. And we did that, and it became a tradition, and people started looking for this backyard party. And so for us, it was like, okay, so we're onto something, you know what I mean? And people, you know, people need stuff, you know, so you just got to give the people what they need, and you got to find out what the people need. And once you find out what they want or need, then if you can fulfill one of those things, I would say, if you got a product that people want, or if you have a product that people need, and you test it in the sense of tested by others, you can't be the only one. You have to have something that somebody else can validate for you, because, you know, and it's not that validation, now that I say that so lightly, so I don't want to deter anybody, because sometimes people can't catch your vision, and it's not for them to catch it because it might be for someone else. So they might be blinded to it because it's not for them. So I don't say that to discourage anybody who has a vision that somebody isn't catching, because I mean that, but you have to really know, you know what I'm saying? You have to really know you have something and put everything you have behind it. Because once you realize you have something, then I think it makes your path to the end of it a lot better. It's like with me and my screenwriting. I'm still not, I'm a little nervous, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I don't know if I have it. Like, you know, like I felt much more confident about doing this restauranting thing because I understood the product. We had eaten it, I've seen it, if we had tested it, it had proven itself. So I was much more confident about this than I am about my own writing. You know what I mean? Like my own writing scares me, you know, because I'm like, I don't know if they're going to like it, you know, but yeah, I would say just know that you have a good product. And so am I answering that question right? Because I feel like I might have skated it a little bit.
I thought that was beautiful. Okay. Yeah. Basically what you're saying is just believe in what you're doing or the product that you're selling.
Yes.
The good things will come from that. Yeah. I think that's awesome.
And your feet. So it's like you believe in it, right? Okay. So that's your baby first step. Yeah. Having something you believe in like nothing else. Like, you know, that's the baby first step. And then the next steps behind it are you have to order your steps you have to find out where something like yours exists out here in the world, if it exists, if it's not something you never knew, but where does it exist? Yeah. And what is making them successful, and study it a tad bit and start lining up your steps. And as they say, somebody wrote this book, and one of the things they said was begin with the end in mind, you know, like know where you're going. And create your map. You know what I mean? Know where you're going, right? That first. I got this wonderful thing and I'm going to have it here. Yeah. You know, so then, okay, we got those two most important things. The most important thing is knowing you have something amazing. And the second thing is seeing it and doing what it's supposed to do. So you know what it's doing when it's doing what it's supposed to do. You have that. Okay. So then you know what it is and you know what it's going to do. Now you got to write the steps in the middle. And that would be my advice to anybody who's trying to start a business is, know those two things. Know that you have something amazing, and then know exactly what you want to happen to it. And, you know, put that on your vision board and put that on your wall and let it speak to you all the time in your subconscious, your thing doing what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean? And so it's funny because I did a vision board for YASO before I knew it was going to be YASO. And it basically had, it said, all taste, no drama. Like I knew I wanted a peaceful experience. It was a restaurant. It looked good. It was cool how I had it put it together on the vision board. And it was supposed to be all taste and no drama. And that is what I looked at all times when I was doing my vision board every day, and it's set on my wall. And so that was a part of me building my map. And so as you see this, look who's in here. Look who's here, you guys. Big sister.
Hey sis, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's really about just understanding your beginning, like your beginning, and knowing exactly what you wanted to do. That's awesome. And then you can make it happen. You can. Cool. You just have to order your steps.
That's really cool. So this is your time to plug YASO. How can people get a hold of you? How can they see your menu, learn all about what your story is? Just plug YASO all you want right now.
Okay, all right. YASO is spelled YASO, YASO Jamaican Grill. And we are online at YASOGrill.com, YASO GRILL.com. And you can find us there. We are on Instagram at YASO Grill. We are on Facebook, so you can see the pictures. You can look at the food. You can make plans for what you want to eat when you come to Indy, or when you're here, or if you are here, you can make plans of what you want to eat. You can call us 317-744-0011. You can order over the phone. You can pick up in the drive-thru. You can order online at YASOGrill.com, and you can click on that orange link. Get on there. You will see our most up-to-date menu, because sometimes it changes. As things do. And so it's the most up-to-date menu. Check it out and come and hang out with us.
That's awesome. Well, Ja'Net, thank you so much for your time.
I forgot the address, 1501 Prospect Street, 1501 Prospect Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, Fountain Square, 46203.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. Ja'Net, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Guys, I appreciate you having me here. Hustle, Indy, hustle. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling.
Every day. Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you show Ja'Net and YASO Grill some love. We look forward to seeing you next week in the next episode. Hey, you take care, Indy.